this week to be very hectic. It's going to be very dense, and I will need your cooperation in, keeping track of time and keeping track of material. But I need you first and foremost very, very focused. Okay, so what I need you guys to have next to you before we start with, presentation and introduction and all this, even though we ran some introduction in past few weeks already, I just want to run it by everyone here, just to make sure, we're all on the same page. So before we start, what I want you to have next to you is first the book, the CISSP book that you got. You all have it with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You? All right, cool. So the book is with you. Yeah, Valentino, it's time to open the nylon wrapping. Now it will be a good time to open that and have two separate books. One is for reading and one is for practicing. Okay, good. And then the next one, I hope, Valentino, you already opened the nylon wrap off the booklets that I gave you all.
Yeah.
All right, those are separate, right? Okay, good. And also our books, the CyTech books next to you, and pen and a notebook. So it's something you can write on, okay? Most of the time, through the training, you will write on our booklets, so the presentations, okay? Most of the time, I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks on certain slide in a presentation, and I would like you to write this and that over there. So when you go back to the presentations, as you prepare yourself for the CISSP exam, you will have all the notes and tips and tricks right there in front of you. You won't look for them, okay? I would like you to make those notes and maybe keep one or two colors of different pens so you can, differentiate between the different remarks, okay? So have that in front of you. Again, the book, the practice book, CyTech books, pen and paper to write on in two colors, and that's how we're going to work throughout the week, okay? So set up the environment, have a comfortable environment. Do not have your Outlook open at any given time throughout the bootcamp on your computer. I don't want you occupied in anything, okay? That's a key factor to your success, to the success of this bootcamp. Do not work. I know I'm saying something that is super hard to achieve these days because work is mixed with your home and your immediate environment, and the phone and WhatsApp and all. We're all there, but I need you to focus this week on the bootcamp. However, I realize that from time to time, some of you will kind of slide out of the bootcamp to do some work, maybe respond to something urgent. That's why we're recording these sessions, so you can always go back to them, okay? And whenever you need to, you can go back, you can hit those sessions and cover those areas that you probably missed during the bootcamp. As a preparation for this bootcamp, we met, I think we had 5 or 6 sessions in previous weeks. Some of you attended, some of you didn't make it back then, it's okay. It was more of a preparation and introduction and to get to know the environment. And throughout the time, I also recommended you to go to Classmarker and start practicing those CISSP exam questions. And most of you, I'm happy to say, most of you actually took those exam questions and practiced. And now, this week, I'm coming with a lot of understanding of where you are and what are your deficiencies in knowledge and what areas I will need to press more, put more time in order to cover those areas as properly for everyone's benefit. So again, practice, and more practice. This gives me the idea of where you are, especially the individual ones, every one of individually, where you are and where the material is, and what are your areas that I will need to work on with you in order to get you to pass the CISSP exam. So before anything else, before we start anything else, before we dive into presentations and start running throughout this bootcamp, A short introduction between everyone. I know you all know each other, so what I would like you to do now, there's the seven of us, but I would like you to share some detail about your life that nobody else knows until this point in time, or most of the people don't know yet about yourself, something you're comfortable with, okay? I don't want to push you to the limit. This will happen in the bootcamp, but share whatever you feel like about yourself with the group. And I will edit this and remove that from the recording later on, okay? So this will not be published. So don't worry about that. Ran, how about we start with you, man?
Yeah, of course, of course. So not many know this, but I used to be a paratrooper. Yeah,
Yeah.
so basically, when I was like 19, I skydived for the first time in the military, and I've continued to do so throughout the years. When I got discharged, I started learning like shachar to dive, how to dive. So I like to dive as well. So everything that is that surrounds like, I don't know, extreme activities. So
Floating in there, man.
yeah, don't let the fat throw you off here. I
Yeah,
like to do it.
wow.
I like to do so. Yeah,
Wow,
that's a fun fact.
great, great. Hi, Guy. Great having you with us, Guy. Thank you for joining.
Hi, hello,
Uh,
hello.
we're running a short introduction, and every one of us will share a piece of information. I know all of you know each other, but we're trying to cover an area where people don't know about us. So something you don't know about, or the group doesn't know about you. So Juan should just share that he likes to take scuba diving, and he was a paratrooper in the military, and he did his first skydive when he was 19.
Wow.
Exciting, yeah. I wonder how this will help you during the boot camp. I don't know, but I heard that paratroopers boot camp can be hard, so let's see compared to this one. So Valentino, we're with you, man.
There's not too much to know about me. I enjoy hunting, which I'll never be able to do again.
What?
Why not?
Hunting.
Valentino, in Germany, there is a big hunting culture.
Is there really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What can you shoot in Europe?
What do you hunt? Valentino,
Um,
what do you hunt?
so antelope mostly. So kudu, blesbok, eland. So basically anything
You can
above.
shoot wild boars. It's really big here.
Wow.
Wild boar.
Really?
I think
Yeah.
that could actually be fun. But yeah, so
It-
basically anything that's bigger than 50 kilograms that you get
Wow.
out. Yeah.
Do you hunt with a bow and arrow or with a
No, no
rifle?
rifle. No rifle hunting.
A rifle.
Yeah, no. There's no ways I'm doing bow and arrow in Africa. Sorry.
You don't have the guts of standing in front of a wild boar with your bow and arrow
No,
and
no.
miss, right?
The chances of you getting eaten by a leopard or a lion is quite high. So
Yeah.
no, it's okay.
Wow, that's exciting. Hopefully, when we meet, you can cook something from your, game hunting, from your
Yeah,
wild
that would
game
be great.
hunting. Thank you for this. Thank you. Alan, would you like to share something with us? I'm going through the screen on my side. So, Alan, you next.
It's a good question. I don't know. Maybe I think most of you already know that, but I'm a very private person, and I'm sharing details only on need to know basis. So I
Oh,
don't have
the CISSP with us. Okay. Need to know
If I have
basis.
something to share, I will feel free to do that. But currently, this is the only detail I have.
You know what it does to people when you say things like this, it drives people motivation to find out more about you. So
Good.
you just called for social engineering attack from, I don't know, 7, 8 people here in the group.
Yeah,
Uh,
Aaron, tell me about
All the
your
information,
piercing. I'll tell you about mine.
all the information you will find is disinformation.
yeah, right. The thing is that we can see the back of you and all the books that you like and some personal detail. I see a tie there. and a notebook
Okay.
with the camera to your back.
Now
So
you're doing nothing.
I see alcohol.
Okay. Enjoy
that's
reading
what
that books.
shutting down the camera.
Done.
All right, that one. It's our challenge to find out more details about you throughout the week. Guy, how about you?
Well, I'm the pretty public person, so as opposed to Aaron, I'll give you more information than you want, probably. Maybe it's best that we skip this part because you might not like not like what you hear. Huh?
Just give us one juicy stuff about yourself that we can imagine throughout the week. When we look at the boring stuff of the CISSP, we
Okay.
look
I have two kids. I live with 2 kids, 2 cats, 3 dogs, about 6 or 7 chickens at this
What?
point. Yeah, we
Wow.
have chickens. My wife's nuts about animals. I
She
like
took you?
dirt bike riding. Right, yeah. She lives with all these animals plus me.
Wow.
So I like hobbies, right? Dirt bike riding, scuba diving, judo.
Nice, fun, guys. You guys can go scuba diving together in the
Yeah,
lake.
and piercing and tattoos.
Piercing and tattoos.
I promised you some stuff that to tickle your imagination. So
On what
I
location
don't see, I
on
don't
what
see any
part of your
piercing on
body?
and tattoos on you.
but you don't see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't see them yet.
Mhm.
But on what part of your body was the last tattoo?
More than meets the eye.
All right, cool. Shachar, what about you?
Um, I will share something. I think some of you already know it. I also like piercing and tattoos, but a few years ago, I encountered a really interesting concept called body hacking, and
Oh wow.
yeah, and part of it was to modify your body, to enhance your body. So in this finger, I have a magnet.
What? No
Yeah,
way.
I have a
Are you
magnet.
serious?
Yeah, it's a neon magnet. And currently it's not. I don't have anything to show you. But if you give me a magnet, I can magnet it to my finger, and I can also sense electrical current. If, for example, I put my hand next to a microwave, it starts vibrating.
Wow.
He's a
Yeah,
superhuman then.
superhuman. Yeah, I'm superhuman. Yeah. By the way, a lot of people are, for example, talking about putting NFC chips inside your body, so stuff like this. It's very, very interesting concept. If you have the time, read about it. Second thing that I want to share with you, if I'm allowed, is that I'm part of a triplet, and my brother yesterday or on Saturday, he proposed to his girlfriend. So I want to show you a picture. I don't know if you see it. Wait.
We don't see the picture because of the background.
Wait. You don't see my background. So wait. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So this is my brother and his girlfriend, and he proposed to her yesterday. So I'm very happy.
Wow. Congratulations.
Cool.
Wow.
So this is what I want to share with you.
And wait. Here comes the Polish mother question. What about you, Shachar? When are you going to settle?
There's no comment here.
No comment. Okay. All right. Thank you, Shachar. Carlo, we're with you.
So I really like fishing, but unfortunately, since I'm in Germany, I haven't fished here yet.
Oh,
When I go to Bulgaria.
Fishing with PH.
And generally speaking, here I practice a lot of cycling. So every weekend, when the weather is good, we're going outside to cycle.
awesome.
For example, 30, 40 kilometers.
Wow. 34 kilometers. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
It's
crazy.
not that much. Actually, it's 2-3 hours. So 4 hours, depends.
Yeah. You
If
know
we're
what,
with
what
the kids
I'd
or
like
not.
to do with my 2-3 hours over the weekend?
What are you doing?
I'm taking my beauty nap. That's
Oh,
a weekend nap, man.
I thought that I'm a boring person.
You go cycling, I'll do the napping. I think we can meet after that.
There is no way, man.
Wow, thank you, Carlo. Jada, what about you?
No, I was thinking for the whole time what to say. And so I okay, I like to share about my personal life. So I'm living with my wife and my son in Germany. Recently, I brought them here. So my hobbies are I like hearing songs. I practice yoga, which is more popular in my country. So usually I practice yoga all these years. Started from my I say 10th grade actually, which is in India we used to tell it as a 10th standard from the year 2001 actually when I was doing my 10th grade. And so which helps me balance my life and which helps me sleep peacefully without thinking of anything.
Yeah.
And I like to be more calm and more polite in nature. That's it.
So after domain 3, when you lose it, when you go bonanza, we're gonna
Okay.
tell you to go yoga.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
So that's the solution of when you lose it throughout the boot camp. Oh, awesome. Awesome. Let me share something about myself with you guys, something that I don't think I shared with any group before. Ryan, I don't think you know this about me, but I like to travel, and I think that's pretty obvious if you look at my social media profiles. I like to travel, I like to be everywhere, but my first travel abroad, my first time on a plane was when I was 21. I actually joined the military. I joined the Air Force for the pilot training. It was 2 years training, and I dropped after 3 months. I didn't get the chance to be on a plane. I was very sad. That was my childhood dream to be a combat pilot, and I didn't fulfill that. But thinking about it backward, if I would accomplish that and would complete the training, maybe I would be that pilot that drops the run somewhere in this paratrooper training somewhere in Israel. But regardless of this, I turned 21, and my girlfriend back then, my wife today, knew that I had this dream to go and travel in Africa. Safari in Africa was always part of my dream. So that was my first trip. I flew to Mombasa in Kenya. From there, we took the train to Nairobi, and then a full week travel or trip to the Masai Mara in Kenya. That was amazing. The last morning in the Masai Mara, we went out and we felt confident. We felt comfortable. We were a group of me and my wife, and then 6 other people from different countries in Europe, in Norway, in Denmark. We were a group of tourists, and we felt very comfortable in the safari. Felt very comfortable in the Masai Mara. And the Masai Mara, probably you all know that it has a very big lion population there, or used to have, before illegal hunting and all this happened. So the last morning we went out to the safari and we felt very comfortable. And one of the girls in our jeep, in our car, she asked. She needed to pee, and I'm sure you've seen the safari vehicles. They're all open on the upper side of it is open, completely open, so you can enjoy the safari. So she needed to pee, and we kept arguing. It's not safe. It's not safe. You cannot leave the vehicle because the predators, they see the vehicle as one. And once you step out, they see you as a different part of the vehicle. It's no longer part of the vehicle, and now you become a prey for them, right? They want to start hunting you. So eventually, she got what she wanted. She stepped outside the vehicle, and she went to do her business, not very far from the vehicle. On the other side, there was this male lion started approaching the vehicle out of curiosity. Nothing major happened, but he was very curious. When we saw that, We didn't know how to call her because we didn't want to alert her, so she'll run to. Eventually, she got the message. She very quickly and carefully stepped into the vehicle, and she was safe. However, the male lion, he smelled something outside the vehicle that was very interesting to him. So the driver started driving, and the male lion started following the vehicle. And then the driver drove a little bit faster, and the male lion started running, slowly running after us. Eventually, we had a lion chasing us throughout the safari, I think for over 10 minutes. I had a lion chasing an open vehicle in the safari. That was the last day of the safari, and that was so exciting. My heart beats now when I think about that. When I think about that experience, that I even took a picture. So I had the back picture. Unfortunately, I don't have it with me on me now, but I'll try to get it later on the week. I had a picture of the lion like this. When I turned my back, from the vehicle, and I took that picture with the lion, and for the lion, it was a game, because when he stopped chasing the car, he was stretching. It was a kind of a morning stretch for him. Oh, I did my exercise this morning. I'm done. We thought that this guy is going to jump on the vehicle and take over, and that was super scary, but also very a lot of fun for us. So this is one about me. Again, like to travel, but not like to take risks, unnecessary risks. Okay, so let's start, guys. For those of you that were here for, I think all of you were here at some point during the sessions we had in previous weeks, but I just like to remind ourselves what are we here to do, and how are we going to do it. So this week is going to be very hectic, very intensive. We're going to cover a lot of materials. We're going to cover all 21 chapters within the book, which represent the 8 domains of the CISSP. And basically, we're going to go over the entire CISSP material. However, we're not going to go deeper than what time can afford us, right? Because we can spend weeks and weeks and months talking about these materials and not cover everything. So we need to be very, very focused on what is more beneficial for us. So the areas that we're going to spend time working on are the most likely to be on the exam and are the most likely to be the key components of the CISSP in general. So those areas that we're going to talk about will probably have some other branches of knowledge that we will need to further read about them in the book and in the materials that we shared. So let me just start by sharing my presentation with you, and I think you all have that presentation with you. It's the book, the first book, Domain 1. I'll just share that with you so you can all see my screen, and just let me know that you see my screen.
Yes, you can see your screen.
Yeah? Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm trying to find the teams and you all. Okay. So before we start talking about the CISSP itself, I just want to run a short presentation again about myself and what it is that I personally do and where do I do it. I think you all have it in front of you, so I won't take too much of your time, but just know that we can connect online and we should connect online. I think that's some of the things that make security such a great profession to work and to be in, such a great industry to be in, is that you, at the bottom line, you work with people. Security is not achievable through technologies only. And that's why I'm so excited to do what I do. I keep doing that for many years now. And I'm very excited to do it even more in the next coming years, because this is a representation of how we are required to work with people. So I think, your success will be when you look at the people in front of you. Your success in the exam is when you look at the people of the organization before you look at technology. Yes, technology is a big thing of cybersecurity. Technology is a big thing of what CISSP is required to know, but all changes, the differences, the enhancement of security is being done through people. Okay. The two main components of cybersecurity success, the two key factors of success are these two: the communication and collaboration. So whatever you encounter throughout the week, whatever you encounter in the materials, have these two in front of you. Think about the way we as security people need to communicate with others and the way we need to work with others. These two work together, okay? And this is the foundation of our success. We will not be able to succeed when we make decisions as, CISSPs or CISOs. We will not be able to succeed unless we consult with others, we talk to others, we consider others' opinion. We will not be able to succeed unless we do that. So when I say communication and collaboration, I talk about the people and the people that will need to be part of what we try to achieve in the organization. Okay, so always go back to these two factors. Okay, as you read the questions, and I'm sure most of you already practiced a lot of questions. Communication and collaboration are the main things, and I want you to repeat that and have that curve inside your understanding before you start looking at the materials. Everything starts and ends there. Okay. How do we do what we do, not only in CISSP, but again in cybersecurity management as an overall? Everything that we do comes down to risk management, and that's a big thing in CISSP in general. When we understand the risk, we know how to direct or divert the sources. Okay, we know how to work with people well when we understand the risk. We know what's important more than others. We know how to separate the wheat from the chaff, and we talked about that I think last week. So risk management will be about 40% of your CISSP. Okay, every time you read through material, there's always something related to risk. Okay, always some sort of representation of one or two variables or components of the risk, and we will talk about that. I think we will get to that tomorrow morning. Okay, on the second day, but maybe today. I don't know. We'll see about that. So when you look at the materials and when you consider every question, communication, collaboration, working with people, and then how do we separate the different variables of a risk? Okay, this is really important for everyone. And then going back to communication, here you have my personal details, my email, my phone number, and my ISC squared member number. So when you pass the CISSP exam, part of the process of granting you with the certification will be to have another CISSP certified person sign or verify your documents, your request for the certification. So you will need a CISSP, and here you have my details, and you can send it to me. I can endorse you for your CISSP process and CISSP certification, and hopefully you will get your CISSP after your first attempt. If any one of you have any question, feel free to just raise your hand in the Teams and ask away. So a little bit of the background, again, going back to the background of how we do what we do, since we are working with people, since we are doing a lot of communication, collaboration, big part of what we do is through training. We empower businesses, we empower people. And by working with people, we expand the network that we. And here you can see part of the representation of the CISO training program that we do worldwide, and the approach that we bring to organizations. And I encourage you all to take that approach, with other approaches as well that contribute to the success of your organization, is to have a secure but also a forgiving environment. That means that a forgiving environment means that people can make mistakes, and we understand that people will make mistakes. We cannot expect people in sales to think like CISOs, to think like CISSPs, simply because it's not their job, okay? They're not cybersecurity experts. They're part of the organization. We expect them to do their part on securing the organization and the data and the processes, but it's not their part, it's not their job to build that environment. They are part of the environment. And as much as I would like my firewall to work as it should be, right, as it should, I also need to work with the people to make sure that they will work, they will be that control that I expect them to be. So again, build that environment for people and share knowledge with people. That's how you do what you do. And for this, we built a CISO forum in Israel, and you can all learn more about it. And those of you that are visiting Israel or would like to take part in the CISO forum, just let me know. I can easily add you. It doesn't cost money, but it gives a lot of information. Most of it is in Hebrew, but some of it is also in English. And I think Ran is part of the CISO forum, right? Ran, you're part of the CISO forum?
Yes.
Right, so we have a lot of information going on there. You can share information. People, exchange ideas.
But I'm not sharing with anybody here. I'm just keeping it to myself.
You're keeping it to yourself. Okay, that's good.
Absolutely.
So if any one of you is interested, just let me know. Reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to add you. Okay, without further ado, this was the introduction. If you have any question, again, raise your hand in the Teams. I will see that in front of me on my screen, and I will be able to, address this question or this of you. The order of the day, I will practically be I will be very agile with you, and the way this day is ordered. This day is, we're going to have the breaks, and we're going to have coffee breaks and lunch break and so on and so forth. So I'm aiming to have our lunch break at 1 o'clock Berlin time. Okay, so if you want to plan your day, that will be our 1 hour lunch break. Now we take a break from everything. Okay, I will need to recoup my energy as well. But between now and 1 o'clock Berlin time, we're going to have some breaks here and there, 10, 15 minutes just to regain power, and just kind of let the information settle in before we can continue to the next topic. But this is not set time, so if you think you need a break, if you think you need to take some time, take the 10 minutes off, and we all agree on that, just again raise your hand or write it on the chat, and I'll target that break as soon as possible. Any questions any one of you have so far about anything that I mentioned today? Okay. So let's begin. Here we are. All right. Just arranging my screen here. All right. So the CISSP Bootcamp. The CISSP in general is a certification. Okay, that's the bottom line of what we're trying to do here throughout the week. What we are targeting, what we are aiming, the objective that we're trying to achieve, that we're trying to conquer, is to pass the CISSP exam. Okay, this is what we're here to do. Some of the material will not make sense to us. Some of the material will be questions that we need to memorize, okay, or materials that we need to memorize. And you will probably ask me, Ken, why do we need that? Because nobody works these days with 33600 modem or ISDN, okay? This is old technology. This is ancient technology. Why do we need that? The simple answer is that because it's in the CISSP. And if you're going to take the CISSP, you need to know that, okay? So we will probably struggle with some of the materials, but most of the materials will be relevant to our days today. And this is something that we always need to keep in mind, that we are here to pass the exam, okay? Even though some of it, again, will not make sense or will sound very old, ancient to our landscape today. So always have your eyes on the prize, okay? Always have your eyes on the prize and remember the primary goal of what we're here to achieve. And if you're not sure about this, go back to this slide, look at it again, read it, and get your motivation up again. And remember that this one probably will be a one-timer for you if you do it right. Okay, you just take the exam, you become a CISSP, and that's it for life. You don't have to take it again unless you miss your duties with the ISC. And I'll explain about that later on. CyTech, as in CyTech, and myself, Chen, I'm not an affiliate of any kind with ISC Square. I'm not representing them. We're not representing them. We're not part of them. That gives us a lot of freedom to empower you guys with a lot of extra material, okay? If any one of you will take the CISSP, the official CISSP exam or training by ISC, they have a set of presentation. They stick to the presentations, the trainers, they're not allowed to go beyond these borders of ISC, and we are allowed to do whatever we want and, whatever method or whatever material to present and share with you to get you guys to pass your CISSP exam. ISC, I want you to remember this, they are the opponent, okay? It's like a basketball game. Our team versus the ISC team. On the ISC team, they have experts, they have CISSPs, they have global experts of cybersecurity, and they control the field as well. They don't just control the game and the rules, they also control the field. So the exam that you take was probably tailored to your size, and it will readjust as you take it, okay? And I'll explain about the exam later on, but think about it this way. We are there to win ISC. They play on their field, we play by their rules, and we are not just the guest team, we're the guest team that plays for the first time outside our home base, our home field, okay? So it's not for our favor to take the CISSP exam. However, people do pass the CISSP exam, and that's what we're here to do. Sorry about that. Anything happened to the presentation, or you still see my presentation, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want you guys to have the presentations with you and work with me on the presentations, flip the pages as we go through the presentations. So whenever I mark something, I ask you to mark it, you just have it in front of you. That'll be the best way to go through this. So in order for you to become a CISSP, you will need to have a minimum of 5 years of experience in at least 2 of the 8 domains of the CISSP. 2 of the 8 domains means that if you work anywhere in IT or software development or cybersecurity, information security, or even physical security in the past 5 years, you probably already have the experience that ISC requires. Let me give you an example. If one of us, for example, worked as an IT specialist somewhere, means that you probably worked on network, that's domain 4, right? Network and cables and such. You probably worked on data, which is domain 2, asset security, classifying the data, owner versus custodian and all that. You probably worked on domain 5, which is identity and access management. So you already have 3 domains covered. Now let's say that you work as a database administrator, DBA. So you have domain 8, which is again database security and application security. You have domain 6, which is system vulnerability management, system security, and you have asset security, again talking about the asset classification data, and you probably did some work on domain 5, which is identity and access management related to your database. So most people that are around these areas, IT, DBs, software development, physical security, will probably have the right credentials to be qualified for the CISSP certification itself. However, if you're not sure, then reach out to me on WhatsApp. I'll ask you to share your CV with me, and I'll give you my advice on whether you're qualified or not. And if you're not qualified, it doesn't mean that you cannot take the exam. You can take the exam and you can pass the exam. However, ISC will hold you as a CISSP applicant, as a CISSP, kind of, holding you until you gain the enough experience, the enough 5 years experience to be eligible to be CISSP certified. They call it CISSP associate, okay? So again, if you don't have enough experience, there's a solution for that as well. Now, the 5 topics that will run with us throughout the CISSP exam, throughout the questions, all questions, and you will always need to have them in front of you, when you think about the questions that you need to deal with, are these 5. Everything starts with human safety, okay? Human safety is number 1. So think about it this way. If you have that speaks about fire in your data center, and potentially you can have a technician there, right there at that time, someone someone that is there to do repairment or some sort of a support, and this guy is there. You have the fire hazard. The first thing and the only thing that you care about now, immediately, is to get that guy out of the data center, because you don't want that guy to get harmed in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so human safety is the first and foremost, most important thing throughout the CISSP. After we saved life, after we protected everybody, and they're not in danger of any harm to their own, then we can do everything else on security. Then we can think about how to be ethical and how to to do the right thing and to make sure the right things are done. Then we need to think like business people, maximize profits and minimize losses, and this is the order you need to think about. Last but not least, a rule of thumb throughout the CISSP: every control must be justified. Okay, every control must be justified. And what does that mean? It means that any control, user awareness training, technical control, EDR, or data classification, procedural control, information security policy, or some sort of procedure, access procedure, remote access procedure, work from home procedure. Every control must be justified. If we just put it out there, if we just say, okay, we need that control to mark the tick in a box for this checklist for the regulatory requirement, that's not sufficient. That's not enough. That's not a good thing to have, because a control with no justification becomes a hazard by itself, can become a risk by itself. Now, a control needs to be managed, it needs to be patched, it needs to be updated, and we spend money, and you can see how we go and increase the problems that we have with a control that is not justified. So for every control, the question you need to ask yourself is the question that we asked ourselves when we started this bootcamp: what is my objective? And I would like you to write it down there on that slide, okay? Take the time to write it down. Write down the question, what is the control objective? You will go back to this question time and time and time throughout the CISSP and even later on. What is my control objective? Let me ask you a question now. What is the control objective of a security guard at the entrance of the building? What do you think the control objective of that one? Go ahead, give it a try. Kyle, do you want to start? You want to give it a try?
To protect the entrance from unauthorized access.
Unauthorized access. So by that, what you're saying is that perfect. By the way, you're saying this guy needs to keep the public environment separate from the private environment, right? So basically keep everyone that are not authorized to enter the organization, to enter the building, from everybody else that are authorized to enter the building, right? Kind of a gatekeeper, right?
Exactly.
What other control do we have in cybersecurity that can remind us the security guard at the entrance of the building? Looking at the same objective that you just described, Carlo, the same objective we have for another type of control. For example, firewall, right? If I look at a firewall, it's basically the same control objective: to separate the public from private, to separate two areas, authorized and unauthorized, right?
True.
So, the control objective is a huge, makes a huge difference when you approach those questions, plan your cybersecurity strategy. Okay, you look at the control and you ask yourself, what is it I'm trying to solve? What question are we trying to solve with this control? What is the objective of it? Okay, and the objective directs everything. The objective can also be metered. So it means that, if I have the right objective, I can now measure its effectiveness. Okay, so the control objective that I can ask about my firewall: how many unauthorized access was this firewall approving and wrongfully approving? And the same question can be asked about the security guy, the security guard at the entrance of the building. How many people actually passed that guard that shouldn't have passed the guard? Okay, now I can measure the effectiveness of the control. And that's, by the way, what we do with penetration testing. Okay, penetration testing, we challenge the control objectives. So for you to succeed in penetration tests, okay, and have the right report in front of you, you need to define the control objectives. Okay, you cannot succeed in penetration tests unless you understand the control objective of it. Okay. Now let's look at the CISSP in general. To pass the CISSP, you will need a 70% and more grade to be eligible for the certificate, to become a certified CISSP. Now, 70% sounds okay, right? Let me break it down to you. ISC average, the total average, the global average of people passing the CISSP exam when taking the CISSP exam as is for ISC is 50%. Okay? That means that 1 of 2 people that will take the exam on the same day will probably fail. And ISC is investing a lot in keeping these statistics right. Throughout the years, past years, statistics went up. They reached almost 70% in the pass rate. This was not good for ISC. they wanted to put an effort in bringing down the statistics again to 50%. Because if more people pass on the first attempt, or any attempt, they pass the exam, it makes it easier. They wanted to maintain the high standard of the CISSP certification itself. That's why they went and took this adaptive computer-based exam. That means that now, instead of us facing a questionnaire of 250 questions, you know, it's a printed out questionnaire or a computer-based questionnaire, but the 250 questions are there, random questions from everywhere in the CISSP. Now, the past 3-4 years, the way ISC is doing their exams are with computers. So it's called a CAT exam, Computer Adaptive Testing exam, which means that now you as an individual will face an exam that will fit to you, okay? And what it means is that throughout your throughout your exam, the computer studies you, okay? It learns you. It learns what you're capable of doing and what your strong knowledge is and what your less or weaker areas are. So for the exam, you will get 5 levels of questions. Level 1 is the easier level, and level 5 is the tougher level, okay? Every exam will start with the base, with the average level of 3. Now, if you get the first question of a domain, let's say domain 1, what are the components of a risk in the CISSP? And you need to say impact, probability, threat, vulnerability, and controls, okay? Those are the 5, and you get one of them wrong. So let's say this one is a level 3 question. Now the computer goes back and adds to your domain 1 questions all level 2 questions. And say if you got those level 2 or one level 2 question wrong, then it adds all level 1. So we want you to pass the CISSP exam, but what it also does is that it adds more question to your exam. Does that make sense? So instead of you having the basic 100 questions in a 3-hour exam, now you can go 100 to 110, 120, maybe even 150 questions before you can actually pass the exam, and that's the same 3 hours, okay? So ISC are not telling us something, and what they're not telling us is that they're trying to waste our time. That's why practice, practice, practice every single time that you have before taking the exam. And if you're not sure, don't take the exam. Postpone the exam, okay? Put it up for a couple of months. Train more, because you're never going to be better than the computer on the side of ISC. You're never going to be better. The house always wins, okay? The thing is that you can be good enough to score 70% on your 100th question. So you take the 100 questions, and by getting to the 100, you pass the 70%. And if you do that, that's it. Exam is over. You can do that within 2 hours, 2.5 hours. But if you get to your 100th question on 2 hours and 40 minutes, and now you get question 101, another question, that's when your motivation goes down and you start losing it. And they're counting on this. That's the psychology of the exam, okay? Now, this is something ISC do not tell us. This is something I tell you, okay? This is my experience, and this is everybody's experience that I previously trained. We came back from those exams, and this is exactly what we understand. So in order for you to benefit from everyone that took the exam before you, you need to consider this. I need to hit the 100 questions within 2 hours. All right, guys? 2 hours. I don't want you to think that you have 3 hours for the exam. You only have 2 hours. And with this pace, you will need to take the 50-question exam in 1 hour. Remember that? You have that in the class marker. You have the exam of 50 questions. Take it within 1 hour. Cover that. Work on the pace, not on the volume, but on volume. Okay? Now, the way I want you to approach the exam, once you enter the exam center and you start your exam, I want you to have a timer inside your head. A timer inside your head that tells you, okay, I know I can cover 50 questions within, I don't know, let's say 1 hour. All right. So I take my break after 1 hour. Even if I feel comfortable enough to continue the exam, I don't do that. Okay? I want you to write it down and remember this. Set the pace, your pace, when you enter the exam. Because if you keep that pace, your body, your brain knows, okay, I'm about to take a break within 10 minutes, within 8 minutes, okay? And that's a good one, because breaks are on you. You have to, this is your time. You're basically wasting your time. But if you know that within, let's say, 55 minutes or even 1 hour, you take your first break, then that means that you know that this break is coming, okay? And you take the 50 questions, you take that break, boom, you get the next one right as well. You come back from the break, the next question will be right. Instead of you stretching and even more, and missing those questions, because the more you miss, the longer your exam can be, okay? Now, bear in mind that the easier your exam becomes, the farther you go from your CISSP. Does that make sense? So if the questions are getting easier, that means that you're getting farther and farther from passing your CISSP exam. When the questions become harder, that's where I need you to remember that you are that close to pass the CISSP exam. So don't despair, don't lose it when you sit there. You sit there for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and it's insane. You're taking 130 questions already, and it's getting harder. Know that the next one can be the last one. And this is it, you're almost there, okay? So it's a lot of psychology throughout the exam, and that's something you really need to consider as you sit there. You're not allowed to bring into the exam anything with you. Not a pencil, nothing, okay? The only things that you're allowed to bring in with you are your clothes and your body. Seriously, that's the only thing you can bring in with you. They check your shoes. They ask you if you have a belt. They ask you to remove, to lift your shirt and show them that you're not hiding anything inside. So when you go through this experience with them, know that all you can bring is what you have here between your ears, okay? And that's what we're going to spend time on during this bootcamp. We're going to empower your brain with so much knowledge and so many tips and tricks that as you encounter those questions, you're able to bring the answers from here. You don't need your notes. You don't need your cheat sheets, okay? You have it here. One of my students said that, once said that they're going to tattoo on their arm, on their legs. By the way, talking about tattoos, they're going to tattoo some of the tips and tricks there. Whatever it takes, you can only bring in your body covered with clothes, okay? That's the only thing you're allowed to bring in. So we're going to spend a lot of time throughout the week empowering your brain and to get you to memorize or understand the questions. Now, when I mentioned the different levels of the questions, think about it this way. If you get the first question, they don't tell you which domain, but they simply give you question number 1. If you get the first question, level 3, right, then automatically all level 2 and 1 are removed from your database. They're not going to be added. So the questions that you're going to get for that domain are only level 3, 4, and 5. Does that make sense? And you want to do that because then your exam is much closer to 100 questions than the 150. 150 is wasting your time. There are people that pass the exam after 150 questions, but there are also people that pass the exam after 100 questions, 102, 104, okay? And you want to be closer to 100 because that means that you have more time. Okay, time is precious, right?
Actually, sounds a very nice system,
Yep.
but it would make more sense if the system offers you harder questions more if you are answering them, just so to keep you busy failing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're right, Carlo. Thank you for this remark because we are the next generation of class marker on our side will be exactly this. We try to imitate. You know, ISC came up with this CAT exam, and now we need to chase them. We need to make sure we're not missing that much. So we are spending time in making our class marker CAT exams, okay? But this will take time, unfortunately not in our time here in this bootcamp. So what I would like you to do as you enter the exam, as you start the exam, spend a lot of time, hear me out please, spend a lot of time getting the first 10 to 15 questions right. And since we do not get any feedback from the system, you got it right, you got it wrong, spend more time, you know, give those 10 to 15 questions 2-3 minutes. Pay attention to details, because if you get those right, most likely you will have the 100 question exam. You will eliminate all level 2 and 1 from your potential exam. Does that make sense? All right, so that's what I want you to remember as you enter the exam. Now, as you answer the exams, don't think like a technical person, never. No matter how it sounds right on the technical side, you know, technology will solve everything. If you do that, you don't think like a manager. And to become a CISSP, the first and most important thing ISC is testing is to see that you can be a strategist. You can be a senior manager. You can be an executive, okay? ISC do not look to certify technicians. They look to certify executives. And if you want to be a CISSP, you need to think like an executive, okay? Constantly, throughout the exam. Technologies will not solve everything. People come first. Human safety. We set the right procedures. Technology bring process to life. All these things, they need to be part of your DNA as you take the exam. Executive thinking, okay? That's really, really important. Also, as you enter the exam, as you start your exam, know that you cannot go in your exam. This is really important. That means that if you answer a question and you hit next, there's no way for you to go back and correct that. You know, so get it right. However, look at the time. That's why practicing is key to your success, because once you practice, you get your pace right. Okay? You know how to squeeze in 50 questions in 1 hour. You know how to put the effort on the first 10 to 15 questions and still get the 50 questions in the first hour. Okay? So work on your pace. Pace is important, and you get that through training. Okay? All these tips and tricks, again, ISC is not going to tell you this. Look at the book. The book that you got from me, the 1600 pages, it all looks and sounds important, but it's not. Okay? Not all of it will be part of your exam. There are areas that will definitely be part of the exam, and for those areas, I will tell you that this slide or 2 slides or topic is whiteboard. Write it down, please. Okay, write the word whiteboard, WB. And what I mean by saying whiteboard is that part of your exam, as you sit in the exam, you get a small whiteboard. You all know whiteboard. You can write and you can scratch off and you can erase easily. So you get a small A4 whiteboard. On it, you can write whatever you want. Okay, it's not recorded, it's not, but you can take some of the materials that you have here between your ears, take it out and put it on the whiteboard. So when I say to a slide that this is a whiteboard, this is something I want you to memorize, okay? This is a key for your success that I would like you to have inside your brain. And as you sit for the exam, before you start the exam, you take the whiteboard and you put everything that I told you that is whiteboard on it, okay? R equals I times P. P is divided to threat, vulnerability. Vulnerability is controls, administrative, technical, and physical controls. I can be quantitative and qualitative, and you have that in front of you. So when you are asked about the risk formula, the risk variables, you have that in front of you because you memorized that single slide that I said whiteboard on it. Okay, and when you get the risk analysis, the quantitative risk analysis with the numbers and this and that and SLE and ALE and all that, you have the formula in front of you because this is part of your whiteboard. Okay, so work on that. All right, when I say whiteboard, you take that page and you carve it in your memory. Okay, some of the material will be memory based, some of the questions will be memory based, some of the questions will be understanding based. Our effort as CISSP candidates is to have as many questions under the understanding part. Okay, that means that we know the material, we understand the material, and we can do the math of how to solve the question. However, we are not Superman. We cannot remember everything. Okay, we cannot understand everything. Okay, some of the material we will need to memorize. And for these areas, you will need to work on yourself and know the areas that are weaker for you, that, no matter what, you cannot understand the ports and protocols for the different uses. So what do? You go to the table and you memorize those. Okay, so the compensating control, the compensating way of you to study toward your CISSP is to mark those areas that you do not understand and memorize them. Okay, that's another tip or trick that you can take from here and onward. You cannot advance in your CISSP exam, CAT exam, unless you answer the question. So mandatory respond is required. Okay, so do not skip a question. You cannot do that. Okay, you cannot ask for the next question. Every question must be answered. If you answer it wrong, it will not take off from your grade. It will simply, if it's one of the first questions, it will simply call for the lower level questions. Okay, so again, going back to the beginning of your exam, first 10 to 15 questions, since we don't know which domains they will pick, first 10 to 15 questions, put the time on them and get them right. Okay. In order for you to maintain your CISSP, once you pass the CISSP, you will need continuous professional education points. You will need to log into ISC website at least once a year and report on the hours that you spent in the cybersecurity profession. Not just as you as a professional that got work, that did some work for someone that paid your salary, but something that actually contributed to the community of CISSPs. For example, if you do awareness training with your users, this bootcamp, for example, is a great way to demonstrate the CPEs, okay? So you will need to have 40 CPEs, which are equivalent to 40 hours a year reported to ISC in order to maintain your CISSP. Unfortunately, back at one of the groups that I taught about 3 years ago, I had a guy that his CISSP was revoked. He passed the exam, had the CISSP, didn't report the CPEs. The end of the year, got notice that his CISSP was revoked. He was trying to approach ISC and nobody heard anything. Nobody could listen to him. They couldn't do anything. It's automated process. If your CISSP is revoked, that means that you have to go and do that all over again. Okay, so don't fall for this. Once you pass the CISSP, make sure once a year you report your CPEs. All right? Are we all good? Okay. Different types of questions. And anybody have a question? Yeah. Yeah. Aaron, do you have a question? Because you're unmuted. Okay.
No. Something is unmuting automatically. I don't know why.
All right. So let's just mute your mic. All right. Thank you, Aaron. No, if you have a question, just raise your hand on Teams, and then I'll approach you because it creates distraction. Okay. Okay, the different types of questions that you can expect throughout your CISSP have different questions. Those questions can be something like you encountered on your class marker. You have the question and then you have the 4 options, but you also can have different questions. For example, the scenario-based questions. Scenario-based questions, and this is something I want you to write down on this slide. Take your pen, take that slide and write it down. The objective of scenario-based questions is to waste my time. Okay? Seriously, I want you to remember this as you see those scenario-based questions. The objective of scenario-based questions is to waste my time. When you see a scenario-based question, you will need to excel your ability to deal with the immense amount of information that they throw in there. Okay? So to dealing with scenario-based question is to know immediately how to separate the wheat from the chaff. Okay, how to choose the areas that are interesting to us and that are relevant for us to passing the exam. We're not interested in this scenario. We're not interested in the organization. We're not interested in their plan unless it's important to answer the question and get the CISSP. Unless it's important for my goal, okay? And my goal, my objective is to pass the CISSP exam. So to deal with the scenario-based questions, you will need practice, and more practice between now and your exam. To know how to read it, to know how to separate those areas. Some of you will find it beneficial to not even look at the question in a scenario-based, but look at the answers first, okay? And as you look at the answers, when you read that question, now you can separate the wheat from the chaff. Well, we can separate the areas that are relevant for the answers and those that are not, okay? Again, it's a matter of, getting it right, getting it quickly, okay? But don't get it wrong, okay? Especially the first questions. The other type of questions that we might encounter are, hang on a second. Hang on. So the other type of questions are hotspot questions, okay? Hotspot questions are, they give you a diagram, they give you a presentation, and they ask you a question. They ask you to click on the message digest. So you will need to understand the process that they're showing you here. What we see is the process of cryptography, and part of it is the hash, using a hash algorithm or a hash function. during this cryptography process. So you want to encrypt a plain text. Okay, this is your plain text, and this is the encrypted text. This is the ciphertext, and part of the process is we create a message digest. The message digest is being used to verify digital signature. So they'll ask you to hit the stage of where we see the message digest itself. Okay, and for this case, number 3 is the right one. But as you click number 2, the question moves to the next question. So don't click unless you're sure. All right? So the hotspot questions, you click them, you click on the answer when you're sure of that, because then it takes you to the next question. All right? The next type is drag and drop questions. They have a lot of these lately. We hear from students that came back from those exams, and they report a lot of drag and drop questions. Why do they do that? Because in these questions, they have the chance, a lot more chance for us to get it wrong. Because if you get one right, it's not enough if we have 2 correct answers. And look at where they try to fail us. The instruction here, after you read the question, is choose all correct answers. They don't tell me how many correct answers we have. We might have 1, we might have all 6, and I need to know that I need to choose these 2 answers. There's only 2 right here, all right? So again, be ready for this type of questions, all right? It's not the simple questions that we saw on class marker. Some of you already encountered some of these questions, the drag and drop and the hotspot, but the ISC is reported to have more questions like this in their exam. So again, open your mind, practice and practice, and a lot of practice. Scenario-based questions are there to waste your time. Know this as you enter the game. Okay, I feel like I'm a team coach, preparing you for a game. Letting you know how the opponent looks like, and you're gonna meet them for the first time. And I want you guys to win. And you can do this because others did. Okay, so again, reminding you that you need to have your eyes on the prize, constantly eyes on the prize. So before we take a break and we reaching the hour and a half, me in this monologue. So I just want to cover the 8 domains, much like we did previously, but this one is in more details. And again, saying, keep your eyes on the prize, keep your eyes on the goal, the objective that we enter this, which is to pass the CISSP exam. We're not here to fix the cybersecurity world. We're not here to win a budget. We're not here for an interview. We're not here to be right. We're here to pass the CISSP exam. Sometimes the answer will be just so, because ISC decided, because ISC thinks that WPA2 is the strongest encryption way of having, secure Wi-Fi infrastructure. They don't have the WPA3 yet in the material. Why? Just so, because this is ISC, okay? It takes time for them to update the material. So those are the 8 domains, and let's take a quick review on looking at those domains. First domain, which we're going to start today, hopefully we will cover 2 chapters today. I'm hoping to get the first chapter by 2-3 o'clock your time today, and then move on to the next chapter. The first chapter is the longest one, okay? We're going to have a lot of materials there. And the first domain, we have 4 chapters in the first domain. The first domain talks about security and risk management. It's again talking about weighing cost and benefit, constantly looking at the cost and benefit of everything we do, and think like an executive, think like a manager, okay? Don't think like a technician. Don't think like someone that is there to solve a problem. You're there to sustain a business, okay? That's your objective, to sustain a business. And we'll talk about the business continuity, which is, weighing the cost and benefit of everything we do, because business continuity, you can prepare for 20 different risks, and it's going to come by and bite you on the 21st. So there's no such thing as fully preparing yourself for a business continuity disaster, for that matter. Whatever you do, there's going to be a certain disaster. For example, the COVID-19 that we're facing now. Probably somebody out there already thought about it, but not all the way through, because here we are today, almost a year through the incident and still no solution. Laws and regulations know that compliance is just another risk that you need to manage. Okay, so for the compliance part, I will tell you, you need to obey it. You constantly need to work and follow the law, but as an executive, sometimes you look at compliance from just another risk to your organization. The second domain is access security. Means that we look at assets, we look at systems, and we look at data, mainly data, and the way we classify that data. We want to classify the data. We want to build these containers of protection for that data in order to protect it the way we want to, the way our organization directs us to. Domain 3 is security engineering. Security engineering means that now we think of implementing technical controls, for example, cryptography, and the usage that we have and the benefits that we can get from it. But cryptography is not enough. We need more controls. Cryptography is technical control. And with everything we do, we want to keep it in a layered security or in defense in depth. And this is something we're going to cover this morning. Domain 4 is communication and network, because everything starts there. Everything starts with connecting two endpoints and have them talk to each other. And as they do that, we want to make sure that the right identities are accessing the right information. So the identity management is domain 5, and the data classification, domain 2, will be connected here. Okay? After we implemented all these controls, we want to make sure that our controls can be challenged. And now we run penetration tests or code analysis or vulnerability assessment. And what we do by that is that we challenge those controls that were implemented. Okay? All the controls that we design in domain 3 and domain 2, 1, and 4, and so on and so forth, in domain 8, we want to challenge them here. Okay, so this is the method of challenging your controls. Again, technical, administrative, and physical controls. Domain 7 is the security operations. It means that we have the routine, we have the day-to-day operations, and then something bad happens. Then we have this incident. So what do we do? How do we maintain the routine? And what do we do when we get an incident? How do we stop that incident from taking its toll? And how do we go back to business as normal and also benefit from the disaster? This is really important. We want to benefit from the disaster. The disaster already took place. Now we can improve the security posture of our company, of the organization. So this is going back to business as normal and having lessons learned. Last but not least is software development security. We're going to talk about the way developers are thinking, the SSDLC, the secure system development lifecycle. We're going to talk about database security, and we're going to talk about threats and vulnerabilities in the area of software and software development and data management with databases. These are the 8 domains, and this is the plan for this week. And my plan for you guys as we take this training and hopefully succeeding in passing our first attempt of the CISSP. I can tell you that when you're taking your CISSP exam, this is by far my personal reputation now. So I will do everything that is in my power and in my knowledge to get you to pass that exam, because I need to maintain my reputation for the next group. I need to get you guys to be my next references. I need to get you guys to be the experts out there that now speak the language of security executives. Okay, so that's my goal with you. Not just my own benefit, but also first and foremost your benefit as well. So if anyone have any question on something that I mentioned so far, Valentino, do you have any question because you're unmuted?
No, I was just gonna say no pressure.
Well, what's that?
No pressure.
Okay. If anybody have any question, this is the time. Unless you have any question, maybe we should take 10. Yeah, Shachar?
Just something about the book. I don't know if it's only my copy, but the book is the pages are almost totally out. Maybe it's the
Yes,
printing.
check the WhatsApp. I have the same problem. I sent the picture.
It's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same. It's the same.
Fred,
So
ask for Richard.
you're not on page 35?
No, we have the pages, but the pages are almost falling out of the book.
הכריכה דפוקה,
You're
כריכה
saying
דפוקה.
with the printout.
The how do you say kricha? The cover
Oh,
is not
okay.
is not holding the book.
Apologies on this.
No,
That
it's
was
not.
the
It's
first
not your
time.
fault. It's the printing
Ask
house.
for Richard.
That's the printing house. Yes, it is the printing house. It's a printing house based in Berlin. First time that I work with them. So I was trying whether to work
Don't
with my
work with
printing
them
house.
because it's I'm trying really gently to turn the pages, but it's not gonna last for a long time.
Really? Wow,
Yeah.
that's a shame.
Unfortunately. So yeah.
That's an important feedback, Shachar. Thank you for this, because I'm going to take it back to them and ask them if there's something that they can do about it.
I sent you a
Maybe,
picture, Sam, in the WhatsApp.
if you can take a picture of those printouts, Shachar, and the
Yeah.
problems that we have, send it to me via WhatsApp. I'll share it with them and see. Well, let's hope that they can do something about it, but I cannot guarantee that, unfortunately.
Okay.
Apologies on that.
It's very important that if half the page will fall and we'll have to organize them. I'm not sure it's possible. Yeah, but
But they have numbers. Don't worry.
yeah. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Shachar. All right,
Okay.
guys, let's take a 15 minutes break. We'll be back here at 10:47 your time. All right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right,
Cool.
cool, guys. All right, take care.
So